you should start a YouTube channel. And, it doesn't matter what you talk about. It doesn't matter what your life is. You don't have to have a particularly interesting life. You don't have to be something special. I think it's better if you're not, actually. I think it's a really strong, I don't know, it doesn't matter. You can be really special, you can be something completely ordinary. It doesn't matter because everyone is special at the end. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about this process of discovering who you really are through making these videos. I've learned so much about my inability to just hold my eyes centered in one spot. That's just one thing that I've learned. My eyes are like all over the place. But by making these videos, I've learned that it's actually really, really hard to just look at one spot and just continue talking. It's like, oh, my eyes are like, they just want to look away as part of maybe it's the thinking process. Maybe I just did it again. I just do it unconsciously. Look, I'm like, oh, I want to look there, but like every time I talk, I'm like, okay, so now I'm talking. I see, and nothing interesting comes out as I'm talking while I'm looking into the camera. But the moment and now that I'm trying to look away, I actually can't. Isn't that interesting? So that's one thing that I've learned, right? And that's just under exaggerating it, because you will learn so much more, right? Most likely you will learn a lot of other things as well. What else have I learned? I've learned that there's a lot to eyes, right? Like where my eyes are wandering tells a lot about the headspace that I'm in also. Like, so, if you're talking about law of attraction subjects, I tend to look up to the left. This is where we imagine things, right? This is also how you can spot if someone is lying. They usually look in that direction with their eyes. And when someone is recalling real memories, they tend to look to the other side, to this side. I'm not using right or left because it's depends on who's looking. But yeah, so there's a lot to eyes that's interesting. There's a lot to the voice as well, right? So when you're speaking, your voice becomes your main instrument, right? It's just like if you're a piano player, then I guess your job is to become good at using the piano. If you're someone who is primarily just speaking on YouTube, your main skill is your vocal cords, the way you're using your voice, the depth of your voice, how you're using your voice. Is it deep and strong, or is it soft and tender? And all these things you're learning and getting better at. In the beginning, I was, and this was before, like when I first tried to make videos like 4-5 years ago, I used a lot of special effects on the voice. I was like, I need to have more bass. I need to make it sound like that radio voice. And then with time, I learned that, I'd rather just learn to use my voice that way naturally, right? Because why not? And then obviously another one is when you're editing, you're trying to compensate a lot for the lack of interesting content or the lack of your own sort of speaking abilities. When it comes to retention, like if you can't hold someone's retention while you're speaking to them off camera and their eyes are like all over the place and they want to go somewhere else, well then maybe that's an indication that you should maybe learn to become a better speaker, a more interesting speaker, a more engaging speaker. that's also something you learn, right? Through making these videos, you learn, okay, people tune off if I speak like this, but if I speak like that, okay, now I got your attention. You know, maybe you learn something about yourself as a storyteller as well. And you know, what else? Obviously, you learn like some hands-on skills that are very applicable for this digital world we live in, editing and thumbnail design. Like these two, as well as copywriting when it comes to creating captivating titles. Like these three, editing, designing, and copywriting. These are like the top 3 skills in the digital world, and you're using these skills every single day. You're fine-tuning these skills, hopefully, if you're doing it consciously every single day. So even if your YouTube career just doesn't work out, you have the top 3 most demanded skills on the market anyway. You know, I used to do a lot of digital marketing, so you know, and without these skills, you know, there's also obviously another high-end demand skill is obviously development, you know, like creating software and apps and all that. That's also up there. Obviously, that has less to do with making YouTube videos, but nonetheless, you have these top 3 skills, and if you just can't do these 3 skills, you're in very high demand as a digital nomad, and that is honestly one of the best lifestyles that I know. When you're just working remotely, you're traveling the world, you're, you know, spending less time than people think is necessary on managing your clients and you know, sometimes just delegating work to other people and making all these things happen. And it's really awesome that you can learn these things. That's something I think about when I'm, you know, when I used to make these videos and I was like, oh, why am I doing this? There's not really any purpose behind it. Well, I'm getting better. I'm getting better at all these areas. Designing, editing, copywriting, as well as speaking and communicating and storytelling, as well as my primary motive. And this is obviously different for everyone, but for me, my primary goal in life and purpose, and you know, quite frankly, I think it should be the primary purpose for everyone. I don't understand how it couldn't, but my primary purpose is to be conscious, is to be present. And for me, making these videos is also a really strong tool for me to figure out if I am on the right path or not, you know, because when I'm getting mind identified and I'm getting caught up in my own thinking, which is the opposite of my goal, right? My goal is to just be one with the present awareness. But when I do get identified with some thoughts, or like I'm thinking about the future outcomes, or you know, I'm worried about, well, how I come across, or you know, any of those things, then I experience all that resistance stepping into this realm right here where I'm speaking in front of a camera. And when things are flowing naturally and I'm really enjoying myself, then I see that as a good sign that I'm on the right path, right? Because you always have to remember why you started doing it. Yeah, this goes for everything. Why did you start doing this thing that you're doing right now? It probably had to do with something to do with love, basically, right? So you love doing that. For me, I love speaking, right? I love letting the words come through me, whatever you want to call it, the many different forms of speaking there is. I love all of it. I watch a lot of content myself. I love good speakers. I love good storytellers. I love good stories. I love people who are speaking from the present awareness and are able to invoke the present awareness in other people who are listening. I love that whole student-teacher dynamic there is. You know, I'm a student of many, I'm a teacher of many, and I love that, all of it, you know, and that's why I started. I didn't start to, you know, get views or to, whatever outcomes. No, I started because I love being in this process, like this moment right here that I'm in right now, where I'm not quite sure where the next sentence is gonna go, that is why I started it. That is why I love doing it. And every time I do it, I try to remind myself, remember why you started.